On your journey to find your son, you're going to come across a wide variety of weapons along the way. From a 10mm pistol to the fattest of men, you've got quite a lot of options to choose from. But what if you didn't trust a 200-year-old hand grenade, or a pipe pistol put together by some raider junkie? What if you only trusted the weapons that you yourself made? That's the question we're asking today. Can you beat Fallout 4 with only crafted items? The rules for the challenge are pretty simple. I'm only allowed to deal damage with weapons that I've crafted at a chemistry station, which limits me to Molotovs, grenades, mines, and traps, and I have to craft all of my own chems and healing supplies. After breezing through the bulk of my last challenge, I decided to level myself up and bump the difficulty up to hard. These things are supposed to be a challenge, aren't they? Now that we're all on the same page, let's get started. Beginning stuff: sentient appliance, kid, wife, Vault-Tec rep. I was thinking of going with Bob the Builder, but he sounded more like a settlement builder than a grenade-flinging, Molotov-tossing, not suitable for younger audiences psychopath, so I called his cousin Todd the Crafter. I did a little more research this time around, so I knew a thing or two when it came to choosing my special stats. There were 3 important perks that I needed to take, and 2 of them were conveniently intelligence-based. Chemist was a necessity in order to craft all the healing items and chems, and it required 7 intelligence. Science and Demolition Expert were needed for crafting the fun stuff. Science is lower on the intelligence tree than Chemist, so check there, and Demolition Expert requires a perception of 5. There's also Blacksmith for crafting bear traps, but I killed Yogi in one of my Skyrim videos, so I think I'll leave the bears alone in this run. For my special stats, I chose 1 Strength, because it doesn't change how fast I can throw an explosive baseball, 5 Perception for the Demolition Expert, 8 Endurance, because I'm going to see so many explosions in this run you'd think it was directed by Michael Bay, 3 Charisma for Lone Wanderer, 7 Intelligence for Science and Chemist, 3 Agility for a little bit of sneakiness, and 1 Luck, because no amount of luck would save me from the torment I would put myself through by the end of this video. You know what happens next. I watched some television, did some running, big explosion, nap time, hide the roaches, grab the Pip-Boy, hop on the elevator, and finally, game time. I went down to Sanctuary and spent a good hour pillaging the town for any and all resources, and built a wall that even DT would envy. It gained me an easy 5 levels, and I took Demolition Expert, Science, Chemist, Lone Wanderer, and Cannibal as my perks. Next on the agenda, make some grenades. I couldn't make any grenades. What I could make was 1 Molotov cocktail and 126 poisoned caltrops. That's not a great start, but I didn't let that deter me, and I set out for Diamond City to get some supplies. I ignored dog meat on my way to Concord, and I decided it would be a good idea to use my only Molotov at the beginning of the journey. I had a buy 1 get 2 free coupon though, so I think it was worth it. I let Preston cripple the remaining raider, and I put her down with some slimy steel to the face. Down the road, I ran into Dumpster Lady, and was attacked by some wild puppers. I took them out with the caltrops, and then Carla stepped on one and started shooting me. I didn't kill her though. I was hoping that she'd still sell to me later on. But hindsight being 20/20, I should have killed her right then and there. She did end up selling to me later, but she was just such a bitch about it. At Drumlin Diner, I used some more of those poisoned caltrops to poison some poison pushers. I sold some stuff to Trudy, and nothing else of note happened on the way to Diamond City. I stopped in at the market to buy and sell a few things, and still didn't have enough junk to make any grenades. It was clear that I wasn't going to find enough junk just lying around along the way to craft everything. I was going to have to do a lot of bartering to get my supplies. An easy way to get caps, if you have the Chemist perk, is to craft poisoned caltrops for 5 steel apiece. And with high enough charisma, you can buy shipments of steel and sell the caltrops back at a nice profit. But I don't have high charisma. That's a problem. I took a trip back to Sanctuary, traded with Carla a bit, who jacked up the prices on all of her stuff like it was made by Apple, and scrapped all of my junk down to its base components. I know doing this is a waste of time, but I'm OCD about it for some reason, and I just can't help it. Next, I expanded on the wall, and it gained me another 2 levels. I used 1 level to get rank 2 of Demolition Expert, and I used the other level to start bumping up my charisma. I crafted some more caltrops and 3 Molotov cocktails, and I was eager to put them to use. I figured I'd go with the Minutemen this time, since I sided with the Brotherhood last time. So my next stop is the Museum of Freedom. The caltrops were actually a fairly viable weapon this early in the game. It only took 2 or 3 gentle tosses to end each of the raiders. They were actually a lot of fun to use in there. I was able to cripple most of the raiders and take them out execution style with a little pocket sand. And the way their limbs blew off was just hilarious. With the museum cleared, I had a quick chat with Preston and set my sights on the raiders outside. The power armor provided me with some much needed defense, and the caltrops did well against the remaining raiders. The Deathclaw was another story. I was able to bait him from the building down the street for a bit, and Preston and a couple still breathing raiders picked away at him while I did what I could with the caltrops. Is anybody else getting tired of the word caltrops yet? I'm not even halfway through this recording and I'm already getting tired of it. The Deathclaw eventually got tired of me and threw a car at a raider, and then I got a little too close and he gave me a stern talking to for it, and I finally finished him off with one of the Molotovs that I'd been saving. I then talked to Preston and we went back to Sanctuary. I scrapped some more stuff, built some things for the new people in the neighborhood, and crafted a cryogenic grenade, a fragmentation grenade, and some more caltrops, bringing me to 2 Molotovs, 1 cryo and 1 frag grenade, and 127 poison caltrops. Preston told me that a settlement needs my help, so I headed east to find 10 Pines Bluff. I killed some lady for pointing a gun at me, pillaged the robotics disposal ground, played with some mole rats, and collected some hub flour. We'll need those later. I arrived at the bluff and promised to help them with their raider problem. I then stole all of their potatoes and replanted them back at Sanctuary. It's our food now. I scrapped some more junk, did some bartering with Carla, and then with Trudy, and then went to Corvega to take care of those raiders. I cleared out most of the raiders with the caltrops, and it made me think about doing a caltrops only playthrough. That might be interesting. The raiders in here were a little tougher than the ones in the museum, so it took a lot more caltrops. Probably would have had better luck with Legos. I saved the good stuff for Jared, and didn't even bother to ask him if he'd like it toasted or not. I just did it. I took him down with the Molotovs, and then went back to 10 Pines to tell them that they could rest easy. The Minutemen are here now. Then I scrapped every last thing in their settlement and took all of the junk with me, leaving them to fend for themselves once again. Now that I've leveled up a little bit and put some points into Charisma and taken the Cap Collector perk, it's time to make some money. I went back to Diamond City, put on my nicest outfit, and used the hub flour that I had gathered to make some grape mentats for better prices. I did a little trading, and after a while, I had 50 caltrops, 2 Molotov cocktails, and 8 grenades, 4 baseball, 2 cryo, and 2 frags. I figured I had enough supplies to secure some more settlements, so I spoke with Preston, and he sent me to clear out Starlight Drive-In. I made short work of the mole rats, and then scrapped the place clean. I built the recruitment beacon, and then a tribute to the wall that I had built in Sanctuary, and then I took the rest of the junk with me and went back to tell Preston the good news. He gave me an attaboy, and wouldn't you know it, another settlement needs my help. And not just one, both Grey Garden and Green Top Nursery needed help. So I used my newfound supplies from Starlight to up my arsenal, and I fast traveled to 10 Pines to make my way to the nursery. On the way, I ran into Lucas and bought a shipment of steel, found out it's really hard to kill bloatflies with caltrops, and got molested by some bugs. I reloaded and made it to Green Top, where they told me they were having some problems with the raiders over at Dunwich Borers. On the way there, I had to cross a toll bridge, but luckily they accepted baseball grenades, so I was good. I tried to pick off some of the raiders at Dunwich from above, but after a few grenades, it was obvious that that wasn't going to work. So I decided to just ignore everybody, did some parkour down to the bottom, and ran straight into the mines. Inside, I followed suit and ran straight for the boss. On the first attempt, we killed each other. So on the second attempt, I just chucked a few grenades down the hole, and that did the trick. I returned to Green Top Nursery, they offered to join us, and another settlement was pillaged. A quick trip back to Sanctuary to scrap, crap, and rest, and Preston informed me that it's time to take back the castle. I didn't feel like I had enough supplies to accomplish all that just yet, so I went back to Diamond City to do some more trading. With my charisma stat higher now, and with the great mentats, I made a nice profit along with buying all of my resources. So I bought home plate, fast traveled back to Sanctuary, and moved all of my important junk back to the Green Jewel. After a fair bit of grinding, I set off for the castle with 4 stim packs, 2 frag mines, 2 cryo mines, 2 Molotov cocktails, 3 frag grenades, 5 cryo grenades, 14 baseball grenades, and 34 poison caltrops. I made short work of the hatchlings with the caltrops, the mirelurks with the grenades and mines, and wrestled the queen's jimmies with a dozen baseball grenades. After the fight, I spoke with Preston, and he rewarded me with another 3 settlements that need my help. God, I hate myself for siding with the Minutemen. I raided the castle for all of its goodies, and traveled back to home plate to regroup. I bought and sold some more things, scrapped everything down again, and set off for Sunshine Tidings. Another quick and easy acquisition. I killed some ghouls, pillaged the settlement, and I was gone. Next, I went to Oberlin Station because they needed some help with the super mutant ninja assholes over at Fraternal Post 115. I snuck in easy as pie, but the blind mutie calling the shots is a tad more perceptive than his crew. So perceptive, in fact, that I was curious if he could catch things that are thrown to him. So I tossed a cryo mine to him. For science. With another settlement under my belt, I went back to Sanctuary to turn in the quest to Preston, and he told me that another settlement needed my help. F*** you, Preston. Just doesn't end. So I left them to their fate for the time being, and went back to Diamond City instead. I bought and sold some more junk, crafted some more weapons, and departed for Park Street Station. I tried to take on Swan along the way, but it didn't work out so well. After reloading, I did the smart thing and took the Shoelace Express to get the hell out of there, and I arrived at the station to help Nick. Did you see what I did there? Departed for Park Street Station, took the Shoelace Express, arrived at the station. Park Street Station's a subway station. Comment down below if you got that joke before I had to explain it. Inside the station, after the first bit of triggerment, I realized that I didn't bring enough supplies to fight everybody, so I ran past the rest of them and ran straight for the vault. I ran past the first guys in the vault too, and after a door with a loading screen, they all appeared at once. Then I killed us all with the bottle cap mine. I reloaded, and they didn't follow me that time, so I continued my search for the robot detective. I had some baseball grenades left over, so I tried to play catch with Dino, but it turns out he sucks at catch. I talked to Nick, and we fought our way to the exit. I didn't give Skinny the chance to start counting. I placed a few mines around he and his crew, and blew them all to hell. We left the vault, and he told me to meet him back at Diamond City. Back at Nick's office, he told me about Boston's hardest to find breakfast cereal, and I convinced McDonough to give me the keys to his house. We found Kellogg's secret room, and I refused to follow Dogmeat to Fort Hagen. I ran straight there and waited for Dogmeat to catch up. Inside the fort, I blasted all the sins that got in my way, but ignored any that I didn't have to deal with. I didn't even bother listening to Kellogg's speech. I just chucked grenade after grenade through the doorway until he and his robots were dead. I exited the fort and watched the Fridman arrive, and then I went to Good Neighbor to get inside Kellogg's head. I really can't tell which is worse, following Liberty Prime to CIT or going through Kellogg's memories. With the information I needed, I'm back to reality, and I'm headed for the glowing sea. I stopped back in at Diamond City to pick up my power armor first, and then I traveled fastly to Fort Hagen and pushed south towards Virgil's Cave. I ignored the local wildlife and the children of Adam along the way, but I did stop to take down the Deathclaw wandering around in Shrek's swamp. Inside the cave, Virgil told me that if I wanted to get inside of the Institute, I'd have to kill one of their most dangerous robots. So I told him challenge accepted, and I set off for Green Tech Genetics. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but somehow I lost my recording of Green Tech. So, while I explain it to you, here's my dog Milo. Gunners, explosions. Stairs, explosion. Explosions. Courser, explosions, explosions, explosions. I spent some more time back at Diamond City restocking my supplies, and then set off for the railroad to analyze the chip. Along the way, I stopped at the Charles U Amphitheater to explode some communists. They didn't put up too much of a fight, but then again, I really wasn't expecting them to. Tinker Tom played his part, and then I let the railroad keep the chip, and I was on my way back to Virgil's Cave. He gave me the plans for the signal interceptor, and I went back to the Sanctuary to build the machine. I was missing a few components, so I headed over to Diamond City to buy the rest of what I needed. I decided that I needed to stock up on supplies before heading into the Institute, but
I was getting really tired of all the buying and selling. But then I remembered that a wise man once said that Fallout 4 is a perfectly balanced game with no exploits or glitches. So I dusted off the old duplication trick and went to work. I didn't want to have to resort to this glitch, but I was getting really tired of this being a halfway pacifist run, and I'm sure you are too. Before long, I had a near infinite supply of junk. I crafted about 100 of every grenade in mine, except for the baseball grenades because I couldn't duplicate the baseballs. I was only able to make 28 of those. But now I was well and truly stocked, so I finished the signal interceptor and I teleported into the Institute. I wasn't in the mood for Father's speech, so I tossed him a lit baseball and headed for the exit. For some reason, none of the synths seemed to care that I had just blown up their leader, so I blew them up for a job poorly done. I mean, seriously, they didn't find this suspicious? Back above ground, I went to the castle to speak with Ronnie Shaw about getting into the castle's armory. With a pocket full of grenades, Sarge never stood a chance, and Ronnie Shaw struggled with her Alzheimer's to remember the password. She gave me a brief history lesson on the Minutemen's former general, and we found the artillery plans. After some artillery test fire, I went to the Slog to help some ghouls with a super mutant problem. After a healthy amount of explosions, we had another settlement on our side, and Preston told me to get ready to defend the castle. This was by far the hardest part of the run. I died so many times, it wasn't even funny anymore. I was keeping track at first, but I didn't feel like taking off my shoes, so I stopped counting at 10. And this is the part of the video where I add in gratuitous amounts of explosions. I was finally able to defeat all the synths by barricading myself in the armory and then keeping them at bay in the hallway with mines and grenades. After our victory, Gravy sent me back to Sanctuary to talk to Sturgis, and he told me how to get into the Institute. I made a quick stop back at home plate to restock for the final time and set off for the sewers. I took a dip in the Charles River, which was kinda nasty, I'm not gonna lie, and found the sewage tunnel. I burned a few ghouls and blew up some synths on my way through, and once inside, I teleported in Preston and the crew, and then I gave them an explosive reception to show them just how much I didn't want their help. I pushed forward, exploding my opposition along the way, and myself quite a few times. I was far more of a danger to myself than my enemies throughout the entire run. After a little trial and error, I was able to work my way through the synths and set the pulse charge on the reactor. Preston told me to hurry while he was busy sitting, and Sturgis teleported us back to the control room. I told the Junior Terminator that he's not my son. I mean, look, he can't even catch. Definitely no son of mine. So I gave him a preview of what he's about to see, and we teleported to safety. I blew up the Institute, and Preston asked me if I remembered to issue the evacuation order, and I told him that I remembered to not to. He didn't like that, so I told him, "Long live the king," and I beat Fallout 4 with only crafted items. Overall, the challenge was pretty easy. The hard parts were the big fights, just because there are so many enemies that it's hard to get the room to get away from the explosions, and it's more likely that they'll shoot them while you're throwing them. But I have to say, it was also a lot of fun. I never really use explosives that often when I play, so this was a pretty interesting experience. If you're planning on doing a run like this, I'd suggest doing the duplication glitch from the start. Doing the bartering trick for your supplies works, but the components are so rare and it takes a long time for the vendors to restock. That's going to do it for this one. Thank you all for watching. If you liked the video or learned anything, please hit that like button. If you didn't like the video, then hit the dislike button. But be warned, my kids will cry. And if you're interested in future videos, please subscribe so you don't miss out, and hit that bell notification so you can see my videos as soon as they come out. Thanks again, and have a wonderful day.